All right, what's up, everybody? This is Past the Pop Culture, episode 33. We're going to be talking about Eternals today. And so I'm your host, Ricky, with your co host, Mr. Fenn.
Hola.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Just Eternals was just
How
weird.
do we start this?
Yeah, um, man, because I think I kind of want to walk through my thought process of going into this movie because the movie had a lot of controversy surrounding it. Like, oh, people were review bombing it and this and that, and honestly, I didn't care for all the noise. I normally going into a movie, I look at some of the reviews and then I'm like, okay, and then I move on with my life. I don't really care about reviews, and I try not to let them influence my opinion on things. Just because it's like I think it's fine to take other people's opinions into account, and then Eternals will be eternally bad. Oh my gosh, please. No, sorry, I'm just reading the Twitch chat. But just going into it, I really wanted to form my own opinions, and especially because, well, I'm gonna come on here and give my own opinions. I just don't like to mesh my opinions with others too much unless I think someone gives kind of a good opinion on it. So I came into this movie really wanting to to like it. I really wanted to enjoy the movie and really kind of walk out and defend it, because for the most part I was quite enjoying it. There was a few things where I'm like, okay, I see the problems and this and that, but I walked in and was like, oh, okay, this is an enjoyable Marvel movie, but just the ending is what got me. The ending
Oh,
is what got
really?
me for sure. Yeah, me and my brother were pretty upset at the ending, and that's what killed it for me. Like, most of the movie was fine. I thought, it's mid. It's
Uh-huh.
okay. It's in the middle. Like, it's not bad. It's not particularly good. You're not getting Infinity War here, but you're also not getting Thor 2. So it's so I thought, it's good. So, but once the ending was came in, that's when I was like, oh no, 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 no. Like that's when it killed it for me. So
Really? Okay.
I don't know about you, where you kind of stand on that.
I'm actually kind of shocked. I mean, I can kind of see why, but
Hmm.
throughout this whole movie, because Mercedes mentioned a very good thing. Like, I came in for this movie with the trailer seeing like it's gonna be like a serious quote quote
Hmm.
darker movie because it's like, oh, the
Yes.
world ended. We're supposed to blah blah blah. Thanos blah blah blah,
Uh
and
huh.
like weird monsters. So I was like, oh, okay, that's what it's gonna be out. But as like we started watching it, it was just like it was very Marvel-esque. Like, it wasn't very serious. They threw in their jokes. They had, they kept doing the hero poses with all. I hated that. Where they show them like on the line, like what, four times or three times. I
Yeah,
hated
I know
that.
what you're saying. They
That
did
triggered.
their hero
Yeah,
voice,
I was like,
okay.
I was like, all right, this is instantly like a five just because of that. Like, they had to do it once. Okay, sure, it's weird, I guess, but then they did it again, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, no. And like throughout just the whole movie, I was like, I wanted to be more, I guess, serious, but I never felt like it was ever gonna be serious, and it was just jokes and happy to do this, and then like with the ending,
Yeah.
without like skipping through the whole movie, the ending kind of was like, what was the point?
Yeah,
Like,
no, the ending just made me cringe so hard. I'm not even gonna lie. That it was bad, dude. Well, cause not to cut you off, but yeah, cause the hero, it felt, the way people were talking about this movie was
mm-hmm.
like, oh, it's a different movie. It's a radical
No,
departure,
it's
and then
not.
people were trying to make it out to be something that it's not. Because I know a lot of people are hyping it up, like, oh, this is gonna be a darker Marvel
Exactly.
movie. It's like, oh, they even have sex in it, and then it's just like, oh, okay, bro. It's
I was
like
surprised by that. I don't know
I
about
was
you.
surprised. I saw some article oh yeah, Marvel, they did this, and I'm like, I don't
Oh,
care.
okay.
To
I don't know
me,
that.
yeah, because it was, people were reporting on it, and I'm like, hey, it's to get people hyped, to be like, oh look, and then it was just to get clicks and stuff. It's annoying. I honestly, my opinion on it, it's it's not needed. Most of those scenes are not needed.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
To
like,
me,
why'd they even do that?
to
They
me,
could have
a
just
lot
held hands.
my my view on it, it's like if it doesn't actually pertain to the movie, there's no need to add those scenes in.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't care. Like a lot of the times they're just used to like re-engage the audience because they have bad writing in it, and it's either that or it's like an edgy teen wrote it and they're like, oh yeah, look at us, we're dark, and then they do that to make it seem like, oh, we're mature, and it's just, I don't know, it's just, it's not very good. Like, like it's a lot of the times when those scenes are written in, they're it's not like they don't do it well because it's just like it's either to look cool and edgy or it's just it's not. There's no point. Like they could have took it out. It would have had no. Well, you could have taken out a lot of scenes from the movie to be fair, and like it wouldn't have mattered.
But like that scene for like to be the first of its kind for Marvel, it's like they had no reason to do that. Like everyone knew they liked each other, and like
I mean,
I don't know.
Even just that. It's not even like because people are like, oh, it's the first scene. Like I guess because it is like technically like Disney doing that part, but it's like we had it with like the Marvel shows on Netflix, and this is the first time. Like wasn't it like for like Hulk 2 way back in the day? They had like a scene
those
like
don't
that
exist.
too.
I guess technically they do.
Yeah, and so I don't know. It just it was just like okay, like I saw it and I'm like, wow, edgy. It was like it was just I was like, man, like I don't know, the writing for me particularly on like some of the characters also, which is mind-boggling, like how bad some of it was, and I know there's a lot of just like controversy around like whether it's good or not, and because of various reasons and people that were casted and stuff like that. Which I don't know about you, but what did you think about the casting, like the choices?
I have no problem with any of them being cast. Angelina Jolie was actually kind of good as Athena, which I don't know why I don't know why I didn't make the connection, but she's Athena, the goddess of like war, and so like when they said that for the first time, I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
I don't like for some reason I was like, oh, okay, but I guess Olympia was the big giveaway or something, but she was okay. I mean, she didn't really. She plays the same role, so it's like I can't really knock her for that, I guess.
Yeah,
Kumail,
I honestly,
Kumail was perfect.
I didn't like Kamal. Yeah, that Kamal, and then what's his name? But the guy who played Gilgamesh, Don Lee.
Yeah.
And Brian Henry. I thought they were good. Like those were like the good characters. Oh, and of course the assistant. That guy. Those were the only characters that I cared about. I liked. I enjoyed. I was like, I want to see them on the screen and interact.
They were like I was saying earlier, they're like the lifeblood of this movie for me. Like if they didn't have those two characters in it, I probably would have hated the movie.
Yeah,
like,
I think
that's how like heavy I was into those two only.
And I think the problem is like the way that the movie is just structured. Like for me personally, well, or I should say, the logic behind certain character actions and all that, it just rubbed me the wrong way. Like I just felt like you could have just everything that happened in the movie happened because people made dumb decisions. I feel like that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, this is the spoiler, so we can talk about it. But where the twist with Icarus being the bad guy, I was like, my brother was so funny. Is like he was calling everything in the movie. He was like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna happen. That's gonna happen." I was like, "Ryan, let me watch the movie." And he's like, "Yep, I knew he was the villain and this and that." And he was calling all these things out. So if Ryan can call it out, then you had some pretty basic movie here.
It was pretty obvious.
And so, which is fine if like they want to make it like obvious and stuff. They don't want to make it. But the problem is that they made it convoluted, and it was just, I don't know. I don't get it. Like if he was the bad guy, he had 7,000 years or whatever.
7,000 years, yeah.
He could have just killed them all individually. They wouldn't have known, and then he still would have. It would like. Why does he help them get all back together, and then it makes him have to fight all of them at once? Like he could have just picked them off.
That's true.
Right at the very beginning, and then like that, the whole it wouldn't have mattered. Or like even when Circe had the she gets the little I guess like the ball coin looking thing in her chest, and wouldn't the Celestials know that she was going to betray? Like I don't know. Like I feel like you would have known. If they were gonna betray.
I mean, yeah, especially because they're like inside her or whatever. That's true. But...
And then it's like, well, if they knew that they were going to betray, or Icarus was going to at least confirm that the Celestial was going to be born, wouldn't more Eternals show up to help Icarus? Like there were certain things where I was like, I felt like that it was kind of like, I didn't like how they handled it, and then that it just made me question a lot of things, and especially is like, uh, I think this movie wanted to do a lot of things, but it didn't commit to anything, and I think that's the hard part for me. That because I was very like into what they were doing because you know I like history and stuff like that. So when they were like going through the centuries and they were kind of like, oh look, this scene is like,
Here's
you
a
know,
steam engine.
yeah, like we're inventing this and that.
Yeah.
Ryan said it was like, oh, it's like they're playing a game of Civ 6, which I thought that was kind of a hilarious comparison. But it was just like they were doing things that like it was just kind of like, wait, what are we doing here? Like what's the build up? I don't get it. And then so finally like, oh, I just felt like I don't fully understand like what everyone's like motives were. That would have made sense like to actually do. I think that's what I'm struggling with because I really came into this wanting to enjoy it, and I was like, oh look, they're cool. They're showing this off and the myths and everything, and I was like, oh okay, that's really cool, and I enjoy that. I always like that kind of stuff, and so I was like, oh okay, this is gonna be kind of like a movie for me, and it was like a little bit darker tone and everything, and I was like, okay, cool, and then it just crashed and burned for me at the end.
Yeah, I mean, another thing is that this movie really, I don't know, it feels like there's no point to this movie. Like, in this
Yeah.
new Marvel universe that they're making, like, what was the whole point? And, like, I know the commercial kept emphasizing, oh, yeah, they're going to answer the question of where were they? And it was
Yeah.
like, it was just like one sentence. And it's like,
And it's
well,
like, yeah,
so these people don't matter.
Yeah, it's like, oh, so half the population died.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make sense. The Celestials would get involved because it was half of all life across the universe. They would be pissed to know that they cannot continue their cycle
Exactly.
of life and death.
Exactly.
So they would have to get involved because they would have never, I don't know if like they would have ever known that Thanos would have lost, but they wouldn't even have allowed him to do that in the first place because they lost years of time. So that throws the whole celestial, like, I guess timetable like off. So it's like, is there going to be like any problems with that in the future? Like, because you just halted them from being born. And then, so it's like, okay. And then,
but they didn't really care.
Like,
they're like, oh, we'll just wait a bit more.
and then that was the whole thing where they were just like, oh, well, since I saw that, you know, they could halt it, then that's what made me change my mind. And I'm like, yeah, like, why
You could have just stopped it.
You could have just, yeah, and then it was like, okay, so half of all people, and then they would have all, when they came back, now it's like, okay, we're gonna keep this going, but it's just like, well, I don't get it.
Yeah.
They would have had to get involved. The Eternals would have had to get involved because by their logic,
They have to, right?
they would have to, and I think that's what kind of upset me because I was like, oh, are you serious? Just because they said, oh well, no, we're just gonna not do anything because it only involves the deviants. And
So,
it's
but,
just
but like that's, I thought they were talking about like, you know, oh, you haven't seen Loki, huh?
no, I haven't.
I thought they were talking about where timelines are different. I thought that's what they meant by deviants, but it's literally just like the monsters, right?
Yeah. Okay. So that was a little like convoluted too, because I was like, I thought you had the deviants, like there was like the other people, and that's what I thought. I thought these monsters from like another timeline, especially when they started gaining sentience.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is really cool. So like now,
Exactly.
like we're gonna have this new species, and then they just kill them. That
They're just weird monsters.
They were like, oh no, they're just a weird monster. Oh, they gained the powers. Oh, this is really cool. What's this storyline gonna do? They don't commit to it. They just, at the end, it's, oh, they just kill them because revenge, and Athena gets like her powers back, and
Yeah.
she couldn't do it earlier, but then they don't go on to explain, oh yeah, like she overcame the mad, whatever was it, the mad weary or whatever it was,
Yeah.
and like
She was just angry, that's all.
and it was like, oh, so she overcame it. Like before Gilgamesh died, she could have just done that because there was no like rhyme or reason. She was just, oh, revenge. Now I do it, and that's
I hate
what
when
it was
movies
just like,
do that,
what?
yeah.
Like
I hate
there
them.
was no explanation. It was just, no, I'm gonna do it now because it's convenient for the plot. Like the whole thing just like what? Like it was just so weird. They took so long. It was a slower movie. They took so long to do nothing. And I think that's what got me upset. They took so long to do nothing.
Kind of
Because
reminds you
none
of
of it,
Last of Us 2, huh?
yeah, like none of this mattered. Like it didn't, like, also too, like, just, you don't think Captain Marvel would have said something too?
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know. Maybe it's because we don't know, but is this movie before? Oh no, because it has to be after Thanos.
It's after Thanos, it's after
Because
the snap that
I'm
they
trying
go
to
on to
figure out
explain.
like what was the point of this movie for the future of Marvel.
Yes, and that's where I'm trying to see, like, where does this fit in, because I feels like a side story, a non-canon side story. That's
Hmm.
the best I can give this, is a non-canon side story.
Yeah, a Netflix
Because it's,
series or something, or Disney
yeah,
Plus. Sorry.
like, it doesn't feel like it's connected,
Hmm.
because then also too, like, you don't think like Hulk would have, or Bruce Banner would have, like, huh, what's that earthquake? And, you don't think like there's like a satellite somewhere from like old like text, like,
Yeah.
Stark Tech, that would have been like, hey, this satellite is detecting a giant figure emerging from the middle of the ocean. Maybe we should go check it out.
They'll be
Like,
fine.
no, like, nobody, like, oh, we had this huge earthquake all around the earth that was felt. None of the Avengers cared. Like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they're just like, oh yeah, like they weren't on high alert, and then or checking the earth for the next few days to make sure everything's okay. And like, no satellite or like future tech or whatever would have caught, like,
No heroes available, huh?
yeah, like, I was like, there's literally
Where are
nobody.
they?
Or what about, Wanda? Like, she's supposed to be now, seems like even more powerful than Doctor Strange. Like, don't you think she would have, like, known some, like, the Earth was going to be annihilated, or that there was these deviants running around the
Or
world,
Doctor Strange
killing
should have known this too, right?
Juan Strange? And then also, like, Shang Chi. Like, don't you think, like, I don't know,
That's
like,
what
it
I'm
just,
saying. Like this movie
it's
had no
that's
point, and I hate
that's
that.
I think
Ugh.
that's the problem with what we're gonna be seeing now, because we're going to have these kind of questions now, because we're going to have multiple timelines, and then also too, we're fitting in stories post Infinity War.
Hmm.
So trying to make it all make sense is not going to be possible, which
Hmm.
I can give it a pass if it at least kind of sort of tried to explain itself better and it was a good movie. Like,
Or just don't bring it up. How about
yeah, and also too,
that?
like, the rings that Shang-Chi has, I they thought, my brother thought it'd be cool, like, if, the guy who
They're
does the,
Eternals. That's what I thought,
yeah, if the Eternals created it,
but it's
and like
nine of
that
them.
was just some of the tech, like, yeah. So I thought that would have been cool too. Like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But like, I don't know. I just, after, like, I was really fully, like, ready to defend the movie up to like a very, like, to certain points,
Hmm.
and then like just sitting there, and like after the movie especially, and talking to my brother, like, that didn't make sense, this didn't make sense, and just kind of like picking at it a little bit, like,
Hmm.
yeah, I don't think I'm a big fan of this movie. And I really enjoyed it. Like, at the beginning I was like, oh, okay, this is cool, a little bit different, and that's what I'm kind of upset, because they tried doing something different, but it was bad. And so now
Yeah.
they're not going to do anything different anymore, and they're not going to
Hmm.
deviate, because we
Hmm.
got one bad movie. And so
Deviate.
it's, yeah, no pun intended. But my gosh, like, I was like, we could have given something else a better chance, like, because it didn't make sense. It didn't fit in, and because as much as they're trying to say it's different than a lot of the what Marvel does, it's not
It's
that
yeah.
different.
It's really not.
And the stuff that it tried to do different, it just,
It
why?
didn't. It didn't work.
Why? And I understand, like, a lot of people calling this, like, oh, it's the DC movie of, like, it felt like a DC movie, or it was like
What?
Marvel's DC movie. Some people are saying that because of the darker tone. You basically had the Flash and Superman. I mean, Cersei looked like a Green Lantern, if we're being honest. So
True. They did kept
like
referencing the DC universe as well.
yeah, and so I felt like it did kind of, like, I don't know, just kind of weird. Like, I don't really know. It's like, I have a lot of things to say on this. It's just like, I'm so confused as to, like, who let this happen. Like,
I don't know.
who sat there and was like, ah, yes, after Icarus couldn't kill his love, he just flies into the sun and kills himself. Like, who sat there and thought that was a good idea? Like, no, who sat there and thought we're gonna spend the entire movie killing off members of the cast that Icarus is going, Icarus, twist villain, he's going to kill off most of the cast, but when it finally comes down to, it's nut up or shut up, he's just like,
actually, never mind.
He's like, never mind, I'm sorry. Flies into the sun.
Man.
And then
we banged in the desert. I forgot about that. I gotta go.
Yeah. It's like, bro.
Like, shouldn't he have stayed? Because I'm pretty sure he should have thought, wait, we just disobeyed our master. There should, like, a consequence should happen. So shouldn't he have stayed?
I don't know. Like,
or is he too much of a coward? Maybe he's more like a coward. He's like, I can't face my master now. So let me go chill out in the sun.
That's what I kind of thought. But then, like, it's just, I don't get it. Why kill off everybody? And then when you're finally like, no, never mind. I feel bad now. And then kill yourself. Like, it's such, like, it's edgy teen writing. That's the thing. It's like some edgy, angsty teen wrote this.
At least have him become a tree from Cersei or something. Like, that would have been cool.
So what, yeah, like that too. Or what I was telling my brother is that what they should have done is that Druid should have actually been able to control Icarus just long enough for the Celestial to not be born, and then have him fly off and go, oh, well, I won't kill you because it's too late, and then, but my master will know of this, and then he goes, flies back, talks to the Celestial, and tells him what happens. Like, I felt like that would have been better, because then at least, like, if Druid would have been like, you know what, if we're all gonna die, I'm gonna try, and then he could have just like done it long enough for her to do it, and then 5 seconds, and then he it's too late, and then he flew off, or I don't know. It just
okay. So since speaking of Druid, what are your thoughts on Sprite? Like, she just went with him because she was like in love with him, and then like stabbed Cersei. I was like, okay, I don't know if that's kind of extreme, and she felt like really bad about it, and it's like.
Just I don't know, like,
and now she's a human.
Yeah, for me personally, the characters, I didn't feel like they bounced off each other very well. In terms of like the chemistry of the cast, it felt like everyone was there for a paycheck, except for, of course, our three favorite people. Yeah, like we actually they carried it, but even like the character interactions, like with Druid and the Speedster. What's her name? Let me try to look it up. Well, the Speedster. I don't want to spend too much time, but the Speedster, like, it felt kind of weird. Like, oh yeah, they're a thing, and I know they made it like, oh no, I don't like it looks kind of weird, and they made some joke about it, but it just felt like, oh, so we're just pairing everybody up. Well, it just kind of like, okay, like that's cool.
I'm assuming since they're all, I guess, copies of something else or whatever. Are these the only variations of the Eternals or whatever they're called, like, that are having like human-like feelings, or like what about the other ones?
Well, because I think, I don't know, but just because it just feels like because you have like Icarus and Circe who were like lovers, and then because at first everyone was like, oh no, you can't be lovers and stuff like that. You got to care about the mission. And then of course, you had Druid and the Speedster. They had their thing going on. And it was just like it felt like it just felt kind of weird. Like, well, so it's fine. It's always been fine. But like I felt like they were saying one thing in the movie, and then it was another, and then it just was just like.
Meanwhile, Ajax like, all right, yeah, go ahead, do whatever you want. You're gonna die. Anyways.
Yeah. And
or
then,
not. I don't know. Whatever.
I don't know. Cause it was so weird, and I didn't feel like the romances really were like convincing.
Real.
Like it was just like, oh yeah, they're together.
Well, especially because Cersei ends up going back with Dane Whitman or whatever his name is, right?
Well, yeah, because
before she got taken away.
Yeah, because Cersei went back with, was it Jon Snow, and then.
Which is funny because Cersei is the sister in Game of Thrones, and Jon Snow is trying to like kill her. So I was like, oh, that's a pretty interesting coincidence.
Like a lot of people thought that was interesting too. I've never seen Game of Thrones, but I heard that and I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. But I don't know, because halfway through, me and my brother were looking at each other like, don't tell me Cersei ain't gonna be loyal here. Like I was like, like
You don't mess
when
with
they were
Jon
like,
Snow.
I was like, listen, man. Like I know Icarus, you know, over there with the glowing eyes and big muscles. Like don't do Jon Snow like that. Just and like especially when they're like almost holding hands and she was
Yeah.
kind of behind him. I was like, oh no, come
She's
on
like,
now, don't.
oh, maybe. Ooh.
Yeah, I was like, really? Like, we're doing this in a Marvel movie? I was like,
Tempting.
my gosh. Yeah, it's like, woo. And I was just
Uh,
like, no, please.
I don't
Like, it
know.
was just so, again, like, edgy teenager stuff. Like, it didn't feel like there was, like, any connection really to the characters. And then it
Yeah.
was just like, okay. Like, also, too, the only thing I didn't like, with Kamal's character was how he was just like, "Oh no, I'll follow you to the end, Icarus," and then he's like, "Yeah, so I believe what Icarus is saying," and then just leaves.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Why even come
And he
along
didn't
for the
help
whole
save the
thing?"
world.
Yeah, and
But
I'm
they're
like,
still friends, which I don't really understand.
so also, who's gonna explain to him that Icarus just killed himself? Like who? Like
Yeah,
what?
like he's like, "Hey, where's my daddy Icarus?" Like,
Yeah,
oh,
like so.
he left into the
He's like,
sun.
oh, he flew too close to the sun.
Yeah.
And then just that's what I don't get. He just like he just straight up kill himself. I can't get over that.
Well,
Like
and
what?
especially if they're supposed to be gods, how did he die just to the sun? I don't. That's. I mean, maybe it makes sense to you, like somebody else, but
I don't know. Like, and then that's something too. Like because I felt like they were a little weak. A lot like for
hmm
being like these demigods. I was like they and like I don't mind flawed characters and like they try to get stronger
hmm
and stuff like that. But it just like there really wasn't any character progression. It was just like, oh no, like their powers kind of just stayed the same, and it's been 7,000 years, and
hmm
they're still. I mean, I understand like the deviants, they're stronger, and then they stole the powers and stuff like that.
right.
I get it, but it's like it took like six of them to take one down, and then it was just like okay, like it just didn't feel. I didn't feel like they were using their powers very well, if that made sense. Like,
Yeah.
and then like I mean, because in terms of like combat, like the fighting, I thought it was pretty good. I
It was
thought the
good.
fighting scenes. I actually liked them. I liked the way how the speedster was running around. I thought Icarus's was like flying and use of like the
There's
laser
lasers and all
eyes
that.
was
Yeah.
really cool. And like yeah, it did feel kind of like Superman fighting. And so, yeah, in the movie it did say they cannot evolve. Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
but
there's
even
that
even
too.
then, if they can't evolve or grow stronger, they should still be able to kill the deviant, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I felt
I
like
guess the deviant is the only one that was evolving and growing stronger. So I guess that does kind of make sense.
yeah.
Which
So
is
because yeah, they
Icarus's
did say
fault.
like they can't evolve, but then if they can't evolve, like how do they start like gaining all the like I understand like, but then why even give them emotion and stuff like that? And then it just I don't know like it doesn't make. I mean okay, we're talking about celestial beings in the sky
Yeah,
like
it's not supposed to
it
make
is
sense,
pretty.
Ricky.
It's not supposed to make sense, but it just in terms of like their own logic, it just felt kind of weird and just
Yeah.
kind of like eh. I think that's the best way. Like it just made me feel like, or like like again, just the angsty teen thing. Like it was so weird. I can't really like get over the fact that he just flew into the sun. He just straight up flew into the sun.
I feel like
Well,
he could kill the sun.
I thought he was going to do like a was it like a Superman All Star thing where he flies into the sun to like repair it or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I thought
yeah.
they were gonna like because I know you have like the whole Icarus flew too close to the sun thing and they mentioned that. So I thought there was gonna be like because I literally was like, oh, he's going into space. Like, what is he gonna do? And then I was like, oh, he's going to the sun. Like,
And then
oh, is there
poof.
like a secret base on the sun? You know what I mean? Like, is that where his hideout is? No, he just kills himself. I can't. I'm sorry. The whole episode is just me talking about that, but I just can't. I can't get over that fact. Like, my gosh.
So
Like,
in terms of the new phase of Marvel, which is better, Shang-Chi or this one?
oh, Shang-Chi was way better because Shang-Chi because while Shang-Chi, we did say felt a little different, but also still kept that Marvel feel to it. I think they did it right from how they kind of deviate just a little bit on how their characters are, I think, and what they did, the way their storytelling was, like, because it went more the mystical route, which we haven't seen too much of. But this was just kind of like textbook Marvel stuff here. It was like, oh yeah, like, demigod kind of stuff. And
World's
I
ending.
just felt like, because I was expecting like Thor level of like power. I think that's why I was expecting like them to have like a Thor level of power. I mean, not just kind of like in like what my brother was saying, like, X-Men kind of level of powers. Actually, I would say certain X-Men are just straight up stronger than the
Yeah, I was
than
like,
the
no,
Eternals.
they're not X-Men.
I felt like Captain America could take out like a few of them. Like,
Well, who said was it Kumal's character that says that Captain America was like he idolized him or something? Do you remember that line?
oh, I know, I didn't know who
Because
he was
I
talking about
remember
at
he's like,
first, 'cause
oh yeah,
can't remember.
I was hanging out with Captain America like during a
Oh, was
war
it
or
Captain
something.
America?
I can't remember that line. I don't remember who it was
Oh,
either.
yeah, I don't know who he. Because I wasn't like, I didn't catch that line. I was like, wait, who did he say? And I tried, and it went by so quick. I didn't
Yeah,
even
I
like.
remember that.
I didn't
It
hear
was
who it was.
I want to know your thoughts about how they kept harping on DC. Like they
Yeah, I
mentioned
thought.
Batman, and then they mentioned like, oh, is that Superman? I was like, okay,
Yeah.
look, if this is DC's way of hinting that he's gonna be the new Superman, sure. And in fact, I'm okay with him being the new Superman, to be honest, because I did kind of like him as Icarus, and he did pull off, flying around shooting lasers out of his eyes and all that.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, like because it was good. It was good stuff, but I don't know. I just I don't care. Like it just something that did kind of bother me though with Icarus' character is the accent, that because sometimes he had like a really heavy accent in one scene, and then another scene it was just like a regular accent, and then there was like non-existent in another,
I
and
think
it
that's
just
just
kind of
his
threw
normal
me.
voice, Ricky.
I think so, because like sometimes it was just like a heavy accent, and then I was like, okay, like I don't mind him having the accent. It was just the consistency of his accent felt a little off,
Can we
because
get a
they all
fact
had
check? We
accents.
need a fact check. Is that his actual accent? I think it was. I think that's how he just normally talks.
Oh, okay, because it's just like it felt a little weird that like, because the other characters had accents, but they were
Yeah.
consistent with it. But I felt
Yeah.
like his was almost like at the beginning it wasn't that heavy, and then like I don't know if he just
It's
like
because he was living in
oh
London too
whatever.
long. That's why.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
wherever he
yeah,
was.
but I just thought that was kind of interesting, like because something I don't like in movies is when the actors like they don't have an accent at the beginning, and then midway they have like an accent,
You're
and
like,
it's just
wait, who
like
are
wait.
you?
Yeah, and it's just like, why? What happened to the accent? Or why is there an accent now? Like, I just felt like it was a little inconsistent.
Did they
I guess, but
explain why Icarus was gone for like 500 years or whatever it was?
I
Or
guess he
like
was
why
just
he
making.
broke up with Cersei or
Well,
whatever?
because because he basically knew the truth
And so
that
he
the
just
planet
hid.
was going to be destroyed, and so he hid and did his own thing. Which
But then,
I get,
so then he came back to kill
yeah,
Ajax and then continue the explosion of the world.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and that's why it's like, wait, you
So he
could
didn't. So
just,
he
I
didn't
don't,
leave for any good reason. He just left just because he didn't want to be with them.
yeah, and then also too, like because at the beginning of the movie, he could have just killed everybody off,
Yep.
except for Cersei, and then he still would have had his happy ending. But instead, he waited all those thousands of years, made sure they all gathered, so that they can actually put up a fight against him. And like what I didn't get, I just didn't get that. And what I was telling my brother too is like, what they should have done is kind of taken a page out of Invincible, and how they did Omni Man as the twist, like, oh no, he's actually bad, and because it's I don't want to say it's super similar, but there is comparisons to be made,
I
like,
see what
oh,
you're
he's
saying.
from
Yeah.
another planet, and that they want to take over this one, and and stuff like that, and it's similar, like, oh, he's Icarus is supposed to make sure that the plans go through, and that the Celestial is born, and Omni Man has to make sure that Earth becomes a part of their galactic empire and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and blah blah
Same but
blah.
worse.
But yeah, and like I felt like they could have done it kind of like what Invincible did, was like right off the bat have Icarus like come out and do bad stuff, and then like we could have known that he was manipulating everybody the whole time, and you could have been rooting like, no, you guys need to figure out he's the bad guy, versus what they did was like, oh, I'm actually bad, and then I did all this.
Psych.
And then yeah, it just felt a little hollow. I
I
think,
mean, did
and I think
I know the deviants don't have any brains or whatever, but didn't they kind of figure out, like, did they ever figure out that Icarus was the one that kind of fed him Ajax, or is that just the deviants don't care?
I don't know. I don't think they cared even to like in
Just
the movie.
stupid
I don't
questions,
think they
I guess,
cared.
because
Yeah, it's like
that's it.
also
We're
too.
becoming directors.
Yeah, one day we'll make our own stuff, and then everybody will be criticizing it, talking about how bad it is. But no, it's just like I don't get it. Like there are certain things that just didn't make sense, and there was a lot of good stuff to it that I felt like, but it didn't stick the landing, especially with the ending. It just like I just felt like a lot of the characters. I think the problem was with so many characters. There was like what 7, 8 of them.
9.
Yeah, there was just a ridiculous amount of them. And the movie's solution was to kill off the majority of them so that we didn't have to actually like develop those characters. And then to just then at the end be like, "Oh, how do we tie it all up together?" You know, I think that's what it was. It's the way that they made the movie, it forced them into a corner where they couldn't resolve things in like a logical way, or at least like in a way that we'd feel as like an audience that would appreciate it. Like, oh, okay, I can see how that ended. It just was kind of like they started doing things for the sake of doing it, and then they just didn't explain. Like, oh, okay, they evolved with the powers. Now he's sentient. Okay, so he just goes and explains, oh, we're like you, and blah blah blah, and then they still kill each other.
Slice.
There was no like. I literally thought he was gonna be like, no, we're trying to help you. Look, we don't want the planet to be destroyed. We're
Yeah,
disobeying
that's
our
what I thought.
masters. They're like, oh no, we're still gonna kill you. Like
Yeah.
I don't mind morally gray characters too. So it's not like, oh, I feel bad for the whatever like
Yeah,
deviant
but this,
thing.
I wouldn't even call that this. Like, this movie was not that, that's for sure.
But yeah, like I felt like they were just trying to go too many directions all at once. And I know I said that before, but it just felt like that, like just killing off certain characters because it just was like, well, I don't know what we're gonna do with them. I honestly believe they killed off Gilgamesh because they were like, oh, he would have just kicked Icarus's butt, and then they would, it's like because if you had the speedster and Gilgamesh fighting Icarus, they
They
could
would have
have won.
stomped. They would have stomped.
And it was really cool, like when the speedster was just like running around and like
That
boom,
was
boom,
cool.
boom, all the punches. It was cool. Like, oh, okay, this is like they had really cool fight scenes, and then they just wasted it, just like doing nothing, And it was just like, I don't know. It
So
was
this
just
whole
so
movie
weird.
was just nothing.
And I think that's my problem with it because I felt like with at least Shang-Chi, there was some sort of payoff at the end that, okay, now we have a new Marvel character and he's going to be joining the rest of the team. And now we're going to see him in future, in the future endeavors of the Avengers. And I think that's what it was like. Oh, okay. But like the Eternals, like there's no
So
Avenger that comes in. There's no like,
yeah, they didn't show
hey, this
anything for
guy's
the
doing
future, right, of
this.
Marvel. But
I mean,
in
Go
Shang-Chi,
ahead.
so in Shang-Chi, remember the end credit scene where they're looking at the rings?
Yeah.
Didn't they show like a golden ball?
Mm. Where they're like, oh yeah, it's
Because
reacting or
remember,
whatever.
yeah, remember, and then it was a golden ball thing.
So it could be a reference to the Eternals.
Because now in Eternals, because the other end credit scene, you saw both of them, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now she's in space hanging out with the big bad. So is this the main villain
The
of
Celestials?
yeah? Because I know
I'm not,
in Loki they mentioned somebody else.
I kind of rather like I feel like they abandoned the ideas of the scrolls a little too quick. I felt like they were gonna either do some Secret Wars things where like the Ultimate Universe would be kind of like the Fox universe was gonna combine with like the main Marvel universe or like also like whatever Netflix did, and they were just gonna mash them all together or something like that, and then like create one single
That's a
universe.
good idea, actually. Yeah.
And like I thought that's what was gonna happen. It was gonna be kind of like an X-Men versus like Avengers, or like I don't know. However, they would have done something to be like, oh look, they're combining together now. The multiverse is collapsing or something. And then like
But I mean, we could be just not knowing what's gonna happen because we don't really know Marvel very well, right?
Yeah,
Maybe, maybe.
and so I don't know what they're really like setting up because I'm not too familiar with like the
Mhm.
comic books and like how they set everything up. I've heard of the Eternals before, but
Mhm.
I never
Well, they're
really
not
cared.
even that popular. They're like a not a
Yeah,
very long comic book series. And then
yeah. So
speak
it
so
just
so
felt
so
weird.
in speaking of that, did you understand the two credit scenes? End credit scenes?
So you had Star Fox, and then me and my brother like do a barrel roll, and then we were kind of just like
Yeah. You know who that
my
was?
brother.
That was Harry Styles.
Oh
And
yeah,
I didn't catch that the first time. I was like, oh, great. Marvel's over.
I I don't know why they had Harry Styles. It felt a little weird. I don't know.
As
It
Thanos'
just be
brother.
yeah, and I
I
was
mean,
like,
I'm
huh.
just hating, but I don't, whatever.
Like, cause I wouldn't say Harry Styles is a bad actor necessarily because like he was good in Dunkirk, and I was pretty critical of him in that,
Hmm.
or him being in Dunkirk, because I'm like, dude, this is like a World War II British like, like troops movie, and like I don't know how like some pop singer would really fit in, But then I was
It was
like,
his
oh,
great,
you
great,
actually
great,
did,
great grandpa.
yeah, I was like, oh, you did pretty good in this, and I was like, okay, so I kind of respected him as an actor in that.
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, just from the little bit that we saw of him, I'm like, oh, okay, I can kind of see it, but I'd rather have not have been casted. I'm always more of a fan of casting people who don't are kind of just like unknown,
Yeah. That way they work harder.
like, and so, oh, not just that, because then it just feels like, oh, that's Angelina Jolie as
Yeah.
like that character, or it's Chris Pratt as Mario, and
Well, Chris
yeah,
Pratt's
like
in
it.
big trouble now, so we'll see what happens to him.
Yeah, so it just I don't know. It just felt weird. It just felt weird. Like just it was. I personally wasn't the biggest fan of some of the castings. It just felt like they were just collecting actors for the sake of having actors in it. And then
Well, what about the second end credit scene? Who said, "Are you sure you're ready for that?" Do you know who that is?
no, I don't
I googled
actually.
it because I didn't know either. But it's Blade. And you know who's playing? You
Oh,
know who's playing the new Blade?
oh, it's the guy who played Cottonmouth in
That's right.
the.
That's right.
Oh, that's right. Oh, dang.
So
So that's
that's
gonna
the only thing
be.
that got me excited throughout the whole movie.
Well, that's a good thing to know. Yeah, because who because I don't know too much about who's
Jon
that
Snow.
character supposed to be.
He's
So is
he's
he
he's called he's like the
because I think it's like Black Knight or
yeah, he's
something
yeah, that's literally
or
his name, Black Knight. I've
yeah.
never heard of him. So I don't really know who Black Knight is. I didn't even know Thanos had a son, so maybe I shouldn't, be speaking on this, but
Or half brother or half or
half brother, whatever.
and then I don't know yeah, but there's like yeah, it's just it was kind of I don't know too much about like the comic books
Hmm.
like in terms of this.
Hmm.
But so I don't know like what Black Knight's supposed to be about and like do.
Yeah,
I would like to look up more, but then like again,
I don't really care.
uh
Sorry. It's Marvel.
yeah,
The
it's
only
like
thing I
let's
care about, Ricky, right now is Spider Man.
Spider-Man, yes, dude.
Literally a month away. Like, did you see the new poster? I'm changing this whole subject.
Yeah.
Where it shows Green Goblin?
Okay, so it's supposed to have the original actor,
Yes.
and I'm very excited.
Yes. Please.
Um,
Please.
so the theory is that they just pulled him from that time
Uh huh.
when he was alive, even though like technically he's dead.
Hmm.
Because we all remember Spider-Man. But I'm excited for it. I
But
am
scared.
very scared though. I'm still scared. I'm still scared,
It's gonna be
man.
the
Like
longest Spider-Man movie ever. 2 hours.
how long?
It's actually as long as Eternals. Oddly enough, two
How
hours and
long?
like 2 hours and 38 minutes. I think they said.
Oh, holy cow.
And
Man, dude.
Tom Holland keeps saying he's like nobody's ready for this, and like he says, remember because I don't know if you saw that, but even in the trailer, he's like, the trailer was just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, we have heard that like Doctor Strange is not the
Yeah, let's
is
not do
not the real
conspiracy
Doctor
theories because we're
Strange,
gonna
but
ruin the movie. I want this movie to
but
be as intact as possible.
like oh my gosh, if this movie's bad, I'm gonna cry.
If
Like
this
that I
movie
would
is bad, Ricky, Marvel's done. I'm not watching any more Marvel movies.
if I'm not even gonna kid you, man. Like because and that's again like because Marvel's kind of painted them in like themselves into a corner. Like
Hmm.
they put themselves into a corner just because they're trying to do like more ambitious stuff now that Infinity War is over.
Hmm.
And we have the prom, and we don't. They haven't said all the other Spider-Mans are going to be in there. So some people think like, well, they're keeping it all under wraps. Some people are, saying that no, they are in there, and then it's like people like supposed. And then my favorite is when they do the leak trailers.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh, look at this, and it's totally a fan-made trailer because you can tell they used footage from one of the games, and then it's just like. People freak out and then think, "Oh, this is the trailer. This is the trailer. We finally
PS5's in the movie too."
Yeah, and then it's like, is that
is that the logo on him?
Spider-Man 3 on the Wii footage? It's like, all right, come on. Now. But it's like so. I think I don't know if it is gonna be that hype, man. If even Tom Holland's going, no one's ready. I don't know what to believe.
Are you
man.
seeing it in XD?
I would
I'm asking you now. Save up.
I would pay to see it
all right,
in XD
you
and
heard
all
it
that stuff. That's the only time where because this very well may be the Marvel story of the ages, right? Like this may be the movie where it's good.
Man, I just have a weird gut feeling, Ricky, that we're all gonna be so sad about this movie.
Yeah,
Spectrum XD, yeah, big time.
And yeah, like it's just the build up though to this movie though it's been crazy, and they've been very secretive about who's in it, who's doing what, and we've been seeing little tidbits here. And man, either it's gonna be the most there's gonna be a group of people that are not gonna be happy either way. There always is, no matter what.
But screw them.
Marvel puts out there, but if we see Toby. Like at least,
I think I'll cry. I'm gonna cry.
Like I wouldn't blame you, man. I'll sit next to you in the theater and I'll pat you on the back, like it's here, buddy, it's here.
Like I said, remember when I was like, if they play the original theme song of Spider-Man, I'm done. I'm crying. Dude, I'm crying.
Like I wouldn't. I don't know. I would literally probably jump out of my
that theater's gonna be so
chair.
loud.
Like it would be. If and then what I'm gonna hate too if we're in that theater and no one's reacting. Like we're just gonna be like two adult men going, "What? Yeah!" And then everyone's gonna be sitting there and we'll be like, "Oh, okay, yeah."
Oh, you rather have both? I guess. I mean, I'm not that big of a fan of Andrew, but at the same time, he was an okay Spider-Man. I don't know. I just don't have that connection like Toby.
It was just like, man, it's just. Like, because there's going to be things that like, oh, I wish they did this or they put that character in. And because I don't know, like, if there's a way to curb people's expectations at this point. Because Marvel hasn't really, like, dispelled any of the other rumors, theories. Or not theories, but, like, because the trailers have been very, like, subtle. And, like, we know who's in it.
But at the same time, we don't really know.
But, like, yeah, we don't know exactly. And...
Imagine like he comes back
Toby's emo
and he's like already in like the black suit.
I think that would be like he's just walking down the like
flips his hair and then like a portal opens
and then gets teleported. Yeah, I think that would be amazing. I'd love that.
Pizza time.
But yeah, it would just be I don't know, like because the Spider-Man movie can be like the best Marvel movie ever, and that it is gonna be everything that people growing up Spider-Man wanted to be, and then it's gonna make most of the fan base happy, or it's gonna be a dumpster fire. None of the characters are gonna be in there that we thought. It's gonna be a butchered thing. Like it's only one or the other. It's because it's not gonna be meh. It's not gonna be meh. Yeah, like
I don't know.
We should do an episode best Marvel versus DC movies, but like
that's easy. That's like a 20-minute episode.
I don't know. Zack Snyder's Justice League done. Yeah, okay.
This movie has to be. I don't know. It has to be the biggest fan service ever. Like I don't even care if it makes sense to the timeline.
But I don't even know how you're gonna.
I don't care about the future of Marvel. This just has to be the period, you know.
Like I can let Marvel just catch on fire after this movie. You know what I mean? Like once Spider-Man comes out. Not that I don't care, but it's like I'm not gonna really be like as invested. Like I'll be like, nah, I got my ending. Yeah. I got my ending.
Yeah, exactly.
I got my Spider-Verse. I got Toby one last time.
That's right.
You know what I mean? and it just
William himself was there.
yeah, dude.
Like, yeah, exactly. It should be the peak. So, like, the Marvel's going this way. Spider-Man's right here at the very top. Everything else is going to be downhill. That's what's going to happen. And it
It's
should
like
happen.
because this is really gonna be. I think if it does it right, it can be not bigger than Infinity War, but in terms of like how people remember the movies, I think this one is really gonna be like what sticks.
It's going to be way.
minds.
It's going to be way more popular than Infinity War. I'm calling it.
Yeah, like it's
Unless
just
it sucks.
yeah, because like this is really like because while like Infinity War and Endgame kind of do wrap up that era.
Mm-hmm.
Of Marvel, like I feel like the Spider-Man movie is really what's gonna do it for most people, though. Like this is either gonna be, oh, it goes out with a bang, or it's just kind of like, eh.
Plot twist: Spider-Man
Like,
dies.
yeah. You know what? I wouldn't if Tom Holland's Spider-Man does die in that movie, I wouldn't be like super sad. I'd be like, okay. Yeah, and they did things like Civil War too early, like, but it was pretty sick to see Spider-Man introduced in that. I just wish they didn't show off in the trailer. And I think they took a lesson from that. If the other Spider-Mans are going to be in this movie, they did take a lesson of not showing it in the trailer. Just
It's because they listened to our podcast. That's why.
Yeah, they listened to us. I don't.
Thanks, Kevin. Whatever your last name is.
Feige.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. So.
Toby to die? I don't want that.
Dang, that'd be a good way to pull out the heartstrings. Like
I was really sad when Toby was getting his butt whooped with Green Goblin. That was such a good scene when he was fighting and his costume was like all ripped up and everything.
Oh yeah, and it's like yeah, I remember that. Good times, but
don't say
I don't know.
I love him.
But yeah, like I think this Spider-Man movie could really just be I think it'll be the real end to like the old Marvel, because everything after it is going to be new characters, and I really don't. I mean, I'm gonna watch the Marvel movies, but like whether or not they're good or bad, I'm not gonna be so like emotionally attached to it.
Yeah, it's just another movie.
Knows? Yeah, it's like it's gonna be like okay, like because now it's like because this was kind of like more the era that like we grew up with for the Marvel movies, and then now it's like a next generation thing, which I don't mind passing the torch on. I mean, we're still gonna enjoy these movies, but yeah, they're gonna be trying to do something different. I don't care. Looks fun to me.
That's kind of how I watched Eternals. I was like, this does not feel like a Marvel movie, so I'm just gonna watch it as a regular movie.
Yeah, it's like Shang Chi was good. Like you pump out stuff like that, I'm still gonna be sticking around.
Yep.
And hopefully we don't get another Eternals and
leave them alone.
I just because they didn't give enough time to each character. I didn't really care about anything or everybody. And I think it's just like it's so hard because now we've done the world is in peril for like the 20th time. It just you're kind of numb to it. Where it's like, oh yeah. And then of course
we
at
get
the
it,
end,
humans suck.
like we know at the end they're gonna win. It's just how they get to it, and so it's like, but I don't know. Not to be too pessimistic, I guess. But my rating for Eternals would be like I give it a 4 out of 10. I'd be more generous and give it a 4.5 out of 10. So like a D plus.
I gave it like a C, a flat C. So that's like
flat C. Like you just barely pass.
If you take out Kumal, it's like a 5. But if you keep him in, I give it like a 5.5, 6, maybe even 6.5, just because of him. But
yeah, I think if those 2 characters weren't in the movie, like that we mentioned earlier, that it would have just been, it would have been like so boring. But yeah, Kamal just basically carried the movie for everybody, and then just dipped.
Yeah. That's literally what it felt like. He's like, I'm done.
Just like,
check, please.
He's like, I can't carry this movie anymore. That's what it felt like in the movie, man. But Tom Holland and Ryan Reynolds, I feel like they could have good chemistry in the stuff.
What if they have Deadpool as like an end credit scene for Spider-Man? That'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah. Than just making it where the world ends. There are ways that we could make it so that it's not just end of the world or end of the universe, and we have to save it. Like, there's different things, and I think what like Marvel's just gonna have to do is just kind of make the personal narratives of like the characters stronger, so that we care about more of the characters, because it just feels like the world ending is going to be kind of boring. So it's like, oh no, like, you know, this character might die, we have to save them. Maybe just kind of going that route.
If they're gonna replace Stanley's cameos, I will not take anyone else but Deadpool. Rather have Madam Web show up.
Oh yeah, that might be that would be interesting to do that. I don't know if they'd have Madam Web though. That isn't I didn't think about that. I guess maybe when they're connecting the multiverse stuff, it could or the Spider-Verse, it could happen, but I don't know. I don't think they jump into that side of Spider-Man just yet.
All right.
But yeah.
Let's wrap this up. This movie sucks.
You only know it from the show, yeah. Overall, yeah, it wasn't that great, but I'm not gonna cry about it. They make a second one. They are.
I hope
it says
not.
they're gonna return. It says they're gonna return. I don't know. Give me Kamal, and then you can keep the rest.
Yeah.
And then
Kamal can return, not the rest of the Eternals.
Yeah. and his assistant.
Yeah.
And then that's it. That's all I want. And then
Please.
you can just give them a solo movie. I don't care at that point.
Ooh.
But yeah. Well, we're gonna be signing off here right now. If you enjoyed listening to our little podcast, I would urge you to follow us on our Instagram, Past the Pop Culture, and also stick around for a little bit of Minecraft. We've been playing a lot
obsessed.
of Minecraft. Yeah, so that's our next obsession. So that's gonna be fun. So yeah, we're just gonna switch on over right now. So yeah, if you appreciate it, drop a like if you're on YouTube, and yeah, we'll cut it from here. Yep, subscribe. Thanks.